All right, welcome back, everyone. 皆さんお帰りなさい。今日は5、5に、5に、Yes, 5日。This is day 5. I feel like that didn't come out quite right. 毎日、5毎日。It is day number 5. We have we have eclipse. That's interesting. Is it the new hour? Oh, it's 8 p.m. Oh, so when you click, it immediately updates. That's kind of nice. 5日目です。Right, 5日. Wrong direction. Alright, so when do we get the new thing? You think counters for days are pretty irregular? Yeah, but I use me. 日目 as opposed to the other way. There are two ways to count days. I just happened to have a brain fart when I was coming back. Alright, so, something really interesting happened. I actually, it looks like, I don't know who, but let's go back. Let's take a guess. Let's brainstorm a little bit here. So, oh no, that's the contact us. Yeah. Where is it? About us. So, I'm actually genuinely curious. I know this is a flashbang, but let's take a look. So I did get a response after I posted or not a response, but I got a comment, right? I got a comment from the Bunpro team. At least I think, because it's linked to their social media YouTube channel. At least I think. And it was on the first day, the day 1 thing, because I posted the day 1 thing, but obviously it's day 5 now. But I'm slowly it takes a while for me to catch up, largely because if I overextend in time, I don't usually separate the videos, right? Because I do like 4 now we're regularly doing 3 or 4 things a day. Anyways, someone is in charge of the Bunpro channel, and I like to think is the Bunpro team. It can be a little tough because YouTube channels, there are a lot of people using like @topics or having took license like names before the thing, but I like to believe it's the Bunpro team. So one of the Bunpro team members made a comment, and they said neat video, and they asked me if I were interested in any like the B points, right, Bunpro points to mess around in store. Obviously, that kind of it seems pretty interesting, but I prefer to earn the points, right? That's kind of the nice thing. Cosmetic things are typically a very great incentive. But I'm kind of curious who's in charge of the Bunpro team, like the Bunpro channel. The Bunpro channel itself, at least the one that is linked to the account, is very reflective of this type of product. It isn't like a social media, right, forward thing. Fairly few videos. I think I might have seen one of the videos before, but none of these particular people strike me as someone who would be in a position to manage the channel itself. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, it could be any of them, really, largely because I don't think they have a social media like person, right? Like or maybe we can glean it from the forums or something, like a community manager or something like that. But it was kind of lovely to see. It might be one of these peeps, and then it might be like a community manager from the forums. Oftentimes I think of a position of community manager that deals with like social media outreach or keeping in touch with other social media. Honestly, I wasn't really expecting something like that so rapidly, so it makes me kind of it's kind of reassuring that they are, maybe whoever's at the Bunpro team has some sort of regular routine that overlaps with the appearance of their product. It's also like low-key a nice way to reaffirm that they might be comfortable with this type of thing, because not everyone is comfortable with using and displaying their product in a way like this format. Oftentimes I often concern myself with like, oh, how would they feel about this? It's usually for personal consumption type of thing, right? Kind of nice. It was a very pleasant surprise. A very quick turnaround, actually. I mean, I have no interactions with the Wanikani team, obviously, and no interactions with Anzahiro, be it that there's really only 2 people. At least that's what it feels like. However, other things, much smaller things, I have interacted, had the brief chance of greeting, saying hi, sharing some, at least a thankful message, right? Because this stuff is a privilege. It's a privilege to have this stuff. You don't really need, like, obviously there are other ways and things you can do, but it's nice to have an opportunity to express gratefulness and having privileges like these. Anyways, that's what I wanted to talk about briefly. I wasn't expecting that. You got interested in the day counters and you found this list pretty interesting. Oh, the day counters? Yeah. I see. Oh, did it go over them? Do you mean like the actual numbers or the counters for the days? I feel like you might have tried to link it. Oh, for the record, YouTube has this weird thing. I don't see links, and I don't know where the function is for links. I think that's just a blanketed moderation thing for YouTube. So if you happen to like link something after, probably gonna have to DM me something if you're saying like this list and then you submitted a link or something afterwards. It's a form of clarity. All right. Well, you didn't copy with spaces. Oh, okay. I see. Let's see. Let's get into our 3 grammar things. Negative. We're going into negative already for Godan. Okay. Ooh, red lines. All right. So basically, the way they're lining up is the so it's the row, right? Is what they would say. Row. I usually refer to it as a column, but the column, you convert them appropriately. The negative form of Aldan verbs are conjugated based on the same set of rules used for the other form of verbs conjugation, changing the last kana followed by the addition of something else. In the case of negation, the additional component would be nai or masen, right? Hang on. Right, we did the... Or no, we haven't.
彼女は川で泳がない。
Right? Because oyogu, oka.
彼女は川で泳ぎません。
And then masen are, you do the gi. and then masen at the end. As can be seen here, the kana changes differ depending on whether nai or masen is being used. If nai will be used, the last kana will always change from the kana ending with an u sound, because we're talking about godans, to the kana ending with an ah sound within the same role. Fairly on, there were quite a lot of people who mentioned this to me, and it was a very convenient way to visualize it based on, you know, your chart, right? Right, your chart, where this is the ah row, right? So this would be the row that's going down. And I'm saying row because for some reason, this is what is classically referred to as a row. And I will probably interchangeably refer to this as a column, and these are rows. Okay. If masen would be used, the change would be from an u sound kana to the e sound kana. Right. The only exception to this rule are verbs that end in the kana u. Instead of changing to ah, the ah sound kana in the same row, the u will become wa when used with nai. Oh, I haven't thought of it that way. I love it when these things kind of click together. Now it just kind of makes sense. Yeah, because it would then be ah. Okay.
私はカラオケで歌を歌わない。
ない。Okay, so yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then instead it would just be what?
私はカラオケで歌を歌わない。
Yeah, 歌わない. Nice. Okay. Well, although I do have to admit, it's not a deal breaker. Like, what I mean is it's incorrect conjugation, but when I hear it, like having just something extended, it's not a deal breaker, but I kind of understand for the read, I suppose. While the common translation of nai and masen is simply not, they actually have several possible nuances. Oh, these ones are the ones that get interesting. These nuances are, yeah, don't, won't, and can't, right? This was discussed earlier yesterday for masen, or just not in general. Let's see, right? I can't swim unintentionally, right? And then this one is today I won't drink because it's intentionally not. You're choosing not to drink, right? But nai and masen are auxiliary verbs. Masen is a conjugation of mas, right? Meaning that they have their own set of conjugation rules, right? Semi-polite form may, oh yeah, and then we got the nai des, right? Less stiff, in between. The nai attached to make the negative form of adjectives. The nai attached to make the negative form of adjectives is a different word, and therefore, oh yeah. This was also said in the previous one for ichidan verbs. All right. Oh, does it just read the three?
お金はない。お金はないです。お金はありません。
Oh, so nice. So nice. Okay. Alright. I'm more of a hearing forward kind of person now. I don't know if I was ever a reading forward person. Like, we're not talking about learning styles here, but more like how frequent. I'm like reflecting upon my frequency as learning after investing so much time into learning another language, using like using visually, I feel like it makes me reflect upon how like more frequent or dominant I rely on my hearing as opposed to seeing. In fact, these frames would suggest that my eyes are not that like they're not as sturdy and robust as my hearing. Eyes get tired very quickly. Sometimes I often find myself closing my eyes and just listening to the content as opposed to like reading it. I mean, these days of long looking at screens and stuff makes my eye fatigue a lot. My voice goes second than my ears. Actually, I don't even know if I get tired of ear things. Although if I'm placed in a really loud environment, that can be very taxing. All right. Cool. Oh, and we got a case marking. Right. Standard. I have to keep in mind standard. To is a particle that is often thought of as meaning and in English, which is usually how it can be translated. I like it. In a broader sense, to simply shows that there's a relationship of a compilation between one and the other. That relationship could be existing together, translate as and, or performing action together with each other. In this case, we will focus on the and translation. A full description of to as with can be found here. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay. So we'll get it later. I was just curious if it takes me straight to it or not.
ピーナッツとビール
Peanuts. Oh man. Peanuts to beat. Peanuts, man. Okay.
彼女と食べる
Yeah, with. To is required after every noun that it is grouped with. However, the last to in a sentence will often be omitted if there are several. Yes. Yeah, in a series.
消しゴムとペンと鉛筆もある
It's interesting that they added another case marker, or like I don't know what this is going to be called, but for now tentatively case marker for like also. I forgot what this was called. We'll get the semantics down at some point. In this example, we can see that the last noun in the group pencil, enpitsu, does not require the particle to. Although it is considered more correct to have it in conversation, the last to will almost always be omitted. It's kind of like, for example, this is a good example too, right here, where this comma, this is my common practice to put that comma, but usually even this comma disappears. It's kind of one of those things like, well, you kind of get the point. It's already initiated. Like the act of listing something or the act of compiling has already been initiated. So adding more additional things is not a big deal situation. Someone asked me about this too. And I add the comma when I'm writing, right? So like a video comment or something, I'm adding the when I'm colloquially texting, I don't. I save the it just right. No need for the comma. That's a very kind of a similar sentiment to to. Got ya, right? Used to connect things too. Ooh, N2. Oyobi and as well as. Oh, Oyobi already. Oh no. Mitsurete. Maybe. Maybe. Some more related stuff. Uh-huh. Yeah, we did this. Yeah, so that's the last time. Ooh. I'm looking at their I like their notations. Like I use shorthand notations too. So I'm kind of looking at ideas for how they notate this. I did this in Duolingo. If you look at my reviews, you're doing your Bunpro grammar lessons at the moment too. Nice. Bunpro friends. Some might even say, James, we have become Boon Bros. That kind of sounds a little weird, but I use this short-term notation as well. Even before we got into this stuff in Duolingo, when I was doing like the 100-day reviews and stuff, I used shorthand notations as well. You kind of get used to using notations like this if you're talking about stuff like prefixes, relations, prefix, suffix. Even booleans, using booleans, I tend to use that as well. Carrots, etc. for mind mapping situations. Koko, although not uncommon. Oh, although not common. Not uncommon. What am I doing? Yeah. Although not common. Alright, so we got the pronoun type, right? Koko is one of the forms of the kore family of, the kosoado. A kore family of words used to identify things close to the speaker. In this case, it demonstrates a place. In the same way that kore represents this, koko represents this place, or simply here, right?
ここのパンは美味しい。
このパンは美味しい。
先生、こことここが痛いです。
こことここ。Yeah. Yeah.
先生、こことここが痛いです。
Okay. Fun fact, the full family of words used for identification, demonstration, right, demonstratives and stuff, in Japanese are referred to as the kosoado, kosoado kotoba, right, the kosoado words. These include all the different forms of kore, sore, are, and dore. Caution, koko should not be confused with kochi, right, kochi. Right. It's focused on like move to here, like come to here. There's a movement instead of the place involved. So when someone says kochi, as in like come here, move to this position. Kochi focus more on the direction that one is is going, where koko focuses purely on the stationary place. Yeah, こっちに来ますか? And then you're ここに来ますか? Right? Will you come to this place, like this place, or please come here, right? Will you come here? It's a situation. Although, I guess I added please. I tend to add please to everything. Whenever you're like asking a question and stuff, or requests or something inferred, I tend to add please, even though like I don't know if it's kind of like inferred by the politeness, right, because you're using kimasu, but generally speaking, whenever I speak in English, I tend to use please, and in Chinese I do qing all the time. Like everything is added, so when I'm asking a question, I'm burdening someone with a question or a request. So generally speaking, I tend to not necessarily, it would be considered a little bit overused in maybe in English, perhaps. However, in Chinese, and I would like to think by extension in Japanese, in public places, whenever I'm talking to someone else who is of not my familiar, I tend to, it's always the standard to be polite. And in English, please is obviously one of the ways to go about it. And I use may, right? May all the time. Japanese has an extra flexibility of being able to say may, would, should, kind of, and on top of that have a formal language for it. In my opinion, in English, there are like 2 or 3 keyword dictions that you can use to embellish and make your English sound more polite, like more welcoming or formal. And that's what I often try to elicit when someone says, oh yeah, you know, there's no English equivalent of like English literal equivalent of formal speak, right? Like sonkeigo, right? But for English, over my years, it's using diction to do it, since I usually refer to English as a descriptor language. So instead of using a specific conjugation or attached to the actual meaning, developing like a group or a pocket of keywords that make you sound more formal and professional, so to speak, may allow you to it ends up making you sound like a scientist and or a politician oftentimes. But these type forms of diction is not a common, in my opinion, not as a common practice in English, which kind of makes you think about the cultural normities that are involved in English. Perhaps using perhaps, may, things like possible, please, of course, please, suppose, right? To suppose something or to suggest, those are like the type of diction words that are made to convey formality, in my opinion. And saying things like in my opinion or presuming, right? Presuming things. Okay. Anyways, we got the kosoado stuff. Anyways, koko. Soko. There. If this sounds... I know there are some people out there who say, well, you don't have to read word for word. You kind of already know this. Like, why read all of this stuff? And my counter argument, conservatively, to those individuals is, when I choose to do something, I try to be as actively attentive as I can. I'm still skipping things, like obviously I didn't read this part. I pick up the ones that, so I'm still doing some time saving. However, for me, when I have time and I'm choosing to do something, I tend to participate as vigilant as I am able to, largely because, and that involves reading out loud. You might be thinking, so what do you do when you're not streaming? I still read these things out loud. Like, I still do the routine that I have now. I legitimately do not stray away from being complacent. When I'm reading for pleasure, like, oh, I'm watching anime or I'm watching a rerun of a show I like, that's a different story. That's for pleasure. But generally speaking, when I'm studying and stuff, I am most definitely trying to make words matter. And that goes for your target language as well. Like, I'm pretty sure very popular, far more influential people like me, you know, like maybe like me, would share similar sentiments. When you're studying and stuff and you're learning something, you're trying to make everything important. You're trying to make every single word significant. You might not be able to achieve that every single day, day in and day out. The intent, and intent is usually not enough, but it can help with how well you retain things. But that's why I'm reading with like some enthusiasm. I'm like reading and commentating on what I know. And sometimes I stop, and if it elicits a thought, I present the thought and then read the rest. So it can feel very redundant when you're not me, when you're not the person doing this. if you're the person doing this, it can really enhance the encoding of your like deeper processing. It can elicit deeper processing when studying things and trying to learn things. Not necessarily needed. This is not definitely not necessarily needed when you're trying to simply vibe, right? And chill out and relax. But for myself, I want to make it clear that it might feel like it's laborious and exhaustive, but that's how I learn things. I try to keep myself as attentive as possible and consistently thinking despite reading something that I may or may not have known already, right? I don't know any way of demonstrating that other than actually doing it, right? Explaining this concept is, in my opinion, nowadays very foreign. It has become more and more foreign to younger people because it's often about efficiency, time, efficiency. And then if problems come up, they go back and do it again and then encounter the problem again. That kind of cycle is not for me. Like, other people are perfectly fine with that. Even the younger kiddos these days, the spring onions, they are able to do this routinely and still manage their like coping styles and rigorous things. I am not the biggest fan. I prefer to take my time and then not have to go back than consistently go back. Yeah. So soko is one of the forms of the sore, right? Sore family of words used to identify things close to the listener, not the speaker, right? In this case, it demonstrates a place. Just like sore represents that, sore represents that place or simply there.
そこの犬は危ないです。
What? How dare you? Sorry. I was just responding to that dog is dangerous. Yeah, from that place.
お前のそこが悪い。
What's up with this negativity? Okay. In the same way that sore can be used to point back to something that was mentioned previously, soko can be used to point back to a place that was mentioned previously, right? From that place, which functions more or less nowadays similarly in English. I can think of a few exceptions. Right.
そこはきれい？
それはきれい? Yeah. No, not それ. そこはきれい. そこ should be confused. Should not be confused with そっち, right? A similar word which also translates as there, but そっち once again. The そっち is referring to the direction of motion. So we have そっちです versus そこに oh, okay. そこに置く. Alright, and then rest stay the same. So I guess we get the next one? Yeah, asoko. Alright. So asoko, like koko and soko, asoko is a word that is used to identify a place in Japanese. The place that asoko will be used to identify is somewhere that's separate from both the speaker and the listener. This translates roughly to that place over there in English. Asoko can be used to identify both physical locations and emotional ones. Was that mentioned for Koko? Probably not. Interesting. This last statement is interesting.
あそこの店はいい。あそこは嫌だ。
Yada. Okay. In the same way that are can be used to point back to something that was mentioned previously, asoko can be used to point back to a place that was mentioned previously. However, unlike sore and soko, are and asoko will only be used this way when both the speaker and listener have intimate knowledge of the topic. That makes sense? That does, wow, that does make sense.
あそこも暑い。
Asoko mo atsui. The place over there is hot. That place mentioned earlier for a place that both the speaker and the listener have been. Asoko cannot, should not be confused with achi, right? A similar word, which is also sometimes translated as over there. Achi focuses more on direction, as per usual, no exception still, while asoko focuses purely on that place. Oh, I really like this part. I was unaware of this, so to speak. Intriguing. Alright. More info. Okay, so Hosoado. And then we have Doko. Oh, we don't even get to Doko yet. Okay. That's fine. Okay. The standard speak, right? Wait. Isn't this just...
お金はない。お金はないです。お金はありません。
They chose an irregular to do as the first grammar practice. Yeah, aru's plain standard, right? Negative standard would be nai, or casual, right? Or plain, the plain form, nai.
魚とバナナ。
ここです。
そこがいい。
あそこがいい。
Man, the grammar ones are they're kind of very brief. 25 points. Is it always one per point? One exercise per one BP per thing? Alright, let's do our 20 vocabulary words. These ones we can go a little bit quicker because I ran a little late today. We did a little 2-hour yap beforehand. Oh, kyo. Intriguing. So even small, yeah, okay. Yeah, this is a great example of how to get the fourth tone. Yo. Kyo, today, yeah, only applies to Onichi. These days, recently, nowadays. How does that work? Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, right. That's... Oh, I just realized... Oh, okay. I'm like, wait a minute. What do you mean by only applies? I just realized this is konnichi. That's interesting. Didn't even click with me the first time. Alright. Yoru. Oh, yoru. Only applies to dinner? Interesting. Only applies to yoru for kana. Have an example here. Interesting. We got heya. But stable. Abbreviation sumo. Oh. Okay. Eki. Staging posts on a highway in pre-modern Japan. Oh, there is a chance. Oh, no, wait. Is that still modern Japan, though? I don't think so. There is a chance we might actually see... Oh, I'm gonna actually play 2 games where we're probably gonna see an Eki. Counter for railway stations and bus stations. Yep. Gotta keep in mind of that counter. Yeah, home. It's an abbreviation for Pura, ne? Yeah, Purato home. Yep, platform. This was one of the first things that I was also told by random strangers as I was starting Duolingo. Homu is one of the earlier katakana words, and it's for dencha, right? For the train. And Purato home is the first. Did you know it's an abbreviation for that? E. Yep, tone 4. It's tone 4. E. It's not E. Or like what I mean is it sounds weirder when you do like E. So you're just like doing E. Just go E.
E.
Yeah, E. And then obviously if it was Heiban, it's E. Good, excellent, fine. Oh, so many things. Also written, yeah. Yep, we went over that. Oh, not this one though. Or this one yet. Sufficient, enough, ready. Yep. Profitable. Haven't used it that much in that way. And then okay, all right, fine. Yep. Such a versatile entry. That's an interesting way to look at it. Gene. Oh, because they're specifically talking about gene. Oh, okay. So here's something that's interesting. Bunpro separates all the reads into their separate entries and then try to qualify them, which is great. I think, this does like double or triple the volume of entries, but at the same time, it's kind of lovely. It's definitely a different way to separate them. So they're specifically talking about gene, and gene is often used as like the Ian or the it or the like the person, like a characteristic of the person that is attached to. So more like a suffix, right? So they have a separate entry for hito being used as jin. And that's what you kind of learn over time. Like when you see, I know Wanikani groups them all together. However, after a while, when you hear the sounds, when you read and you hear the sounds and you're looking at the read, it becomes fairly obvious that jin tends to line up with these things. So it's a nice way to collectively say, oh yeah, well you could have, at least I like to think that people would figure that out. But nowadays, I would say less likely that these patterns will come out. I still feel like when I talk to some people who they do refer to these things like, oh man, it's kind of like random guessing. Like there's no way you can, like, well, have you categorized how often this sound comes up in very specific order? So over time in like Wanikani and Duolingo, after I was looking at the reads, like, oh, okay, well, it's kind of a 50-50, but now it's more like a 70-30. Like over time, you kind of just know, well, it has to come after. However, it is nice to also view it in this way. This way makes it even augments my suspicions about Jean, right? So it's the erring purse. And it's often coming after. And then after, are there exceptions? I'm trying to think of an exception right away. Unfortunately, I can't on the top of my head. It's so much more frequently that it's at a suffix. So nice. You gotta love it. And then now we have hito, right? Hito as the standalone human being, Homo sapien. Yeah, other people. I can think of where that is. Character, personality, nature. Fair enough. A capable person. Okay. Adult, grown up. I can see that as a default for hito. And then use when rebuking or criticizing someone. Interesting. Very interesting. And then we have the nin. Yep. Serves as a counter for people. This honestly has more too, but I don't know if they're gonna I don't know if it's an appropriate thing. Nin also has like, I guess, what should I say? I can kind of see what they're doing here. You can kind of rope into every time nin shows up as a jukugo. The nin is inferring like a number of people as well, like types of, like the number of types of people, situation, and then the right hand, the character is already explaining the type, so then they're just using nin, right? Well, it'll be interesting to think of it this way. I need to reflect on this. Right now, it probably use literal counter, right? Yeah, so all their examples are the literal counter. However, nin can also somewhat be... You can kind of group nin into something else too. Kino. Yeah, kino. Alright. Good to go. Testo. Yeah, testo. Rehearsal? Intriguing. Rehearsal. I'm spending more time focusing on all the extra stuff. Tanoshii. Enjoyable, fun, pleasant, delightful. Samui. Samui. Uninteresting, lame, dull, weak, and corny. Intriguing. Yeah, the indirect feeling of low temperature. E.g. weather. Nice clarification there. Right. As opposed to the touch. Cold to the touch. Tsumetai. Right. Tsumetai. Takai. Expensive, high price, high level, above average. Loud. High pitched? Oh, I'm not sure about high pitched. That's new. Okay. Kanojo. Oh no, not kanojo. Onnanoko. Onnanoko. Right. Yep, those are fine. Darter. Interesting. Oh, I can kind of see with context. Yep. Omoshiroi. Omoshiroi. Let's see. Interesting, amusing, funny, right? Enjoyable, fun, good, satisfactory, favorable, desirable, encouraging. Yeah, this is one of the earlier ones too. Omoshiroi is also one of the early conversation topics. We're like, oh, did you know? Duolingo wrote it as interesting. However, others would come by and say things like, oh, it also means like funny and comical. And there was this big some people have a detachment between what's funny and what's interesting. And by coincidence, my upbringing, what's funny, fascinating, intriguing, and enthralling is also amusing, funny, and comical. It needs context. So nowadays, though, it's a little bit... English honestly captures omoshiroi more so than it has before, because of the overuse of the word interesting. So now interesting has kind of taken on this life. It's also taken on even more than that in English. Like, interesting is also like dubious, suspect, questionable. Because interesting took on many quote unquote tones. So interesting, I feel like omoshiroi also takes on tone, like slight contextual tones in anime, right? Like, or movies and whatnot, where contextually this has to define contextual, but the way they say it has a little bit of tonation, slight pitchy different ways to make this more interesting, in the lack of a better word. And in English, interesting has taken on like 4 or 5 different tones. Like, interesting, interesting, oh, that's interesting, right? So interesting takes on at least 4 or 5 different tones, and it means pretty much all these things, honestly. Like, oh, that's interesting. 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 Right? So pretty much, it's a great example where, in my opinion, personally, if we were gonna talk about different tones and pitch accent, right? Or using the difference of stress accent and then varying mora, interesting is definitely one of those. Not to say that everyone does it intentionally. I think they do it intuitively. Like in English, since stress accents is not mandatory for function, like it's not taught as function or a mechanic of English, most of the time interesting things like this becomes more of an intuitive thing. So whenever someone says interesting, sometimes it's the same thing. They say it with the same intonation and stress accent over and over again. That becomes a lot more ambiguous. So you would need the context of the sentence in English to know what interesting do they mean. Like, interesting as in it's good, interesting as in you're curious or you're questionable about what I said, interesting like you think you're going to take some time to think about it. Yeah, it happens a lot. I switch it up. I use fascinating, intriguing, enthralling. I use all these other words to kind of promote some distinction. So when I say something is interesting, it's all of the above, and then I elaborate on it. Like, I'm very fascinated with this particular topic, although I do find that is more amusing than it is intriguing. I know it sounds like I'm saying omoshiroi, 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 omoshiroi over and over again. You just noticed in the related tab in grammar, it actually describes the differences in nuance with the similar points. That's also... Wait. It does? Oh no. I should look back. It does? I should take a closer look next time, like tomorrow. That's awesome. If it does, that gives me I need to then spend some more time reading some of those. Very neat. Game, right? Game. Makes sense. Games. Wait, it's short for kon. Oh, computer. A computer game. I thought it might have stand for video. No. Wait. Video. I don't actually know. Is it video? Oh, hold on. What is the video? Yeah, video. Video game. Interesting. They use the entry for computer game. Neat. Okay. Right. Chikai. Chikai, close, distance, right? Are we gonna get the other close too? Near, close, short distance, close in time, right? Relationship. Oh, interesting. Okay, closely related. Similar, almost the same. Close to, nearly. So I'm looking for the relation. Oh yeah, there's one.
距離が近いので少し離れてください。
That's still distance. Ah, here it is.
両親が死んでしまい、近い親戚がいなくなってしまった。
I see. Oh, intriguing.
仕事柄、一日中パソコンで目を酷使しているため、目が近くなってしまった。
Some of these examples are great. I didn't even think about it like that. Nearsighted. Too, right? Like, write it like that. Or to say it like that. I would probably just use nearsight. Like, someone's nearsighted. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Large, right? Loud, extensive, important, decisive. Right? Right. That's a bit of a pivot. And older and grown up. Right. On it. Enough said. Alright. Off to our vocabulary.
今日は木曜日です。
Is it Monday? Actually, today, coincidentally for me, happens to be Monday. It happens to be that.
夜に勉強をする。
夜に勉強する. I mean, happen to be doing that too.
この部屋は綺麗だ。
I wouldn't consider my room all that beautiful or pretty, or it's clean though, but they used kire in kanji as opposed to kana.
この駅は新しいです。
電車のホームで友達と会う。
父と母の仲はいいです。
父と母の仲はいいです。
Oh, nice. They used it in like a different manner, like a more nuanced manner than the usual. There. 私は、アメリカね Oh, that's how you do Jean.
私はアメリカ人だ。
It's kind of interesting to say 私はアメリカ人だ when oftentimes the time when I would say I'm American would be usually as a form of introduction or icebreaker. So nearly all of my time would be saying アメリカ人です as opposed to da. And it was interesting to hear it.
彼はとても優しい人です。
He's a very nice person. Yeah. Counter.
私のクラスには20人の生徒がいる。
昨日は水曜日だった。
What? How'd you go from today is Monday? I'm kidding.
今日は算数のテストがあります。
算数。算数 math。算数のテストがあります。
人生が楽しい。
人生がいい。
今日は寒いです。
It's sort of cold today.
教育のレベルが高い。
レベルが高い。あ、
その赤ちゃんは女の子なの？
赤ちゃん。この映画はとても面白い。Oops.
この映画はとても面白いです。
このゲームは面白いです。
駅と家が近い。
この家はとても big
この家はとても大きい。
大きい。姉の名前はね What? Keiko. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That is one way you can say Keiko. Oh, is that what Keiko? I'm not very good at reading names. So, like, names represented as kanji as opposed to like kana or katakana, right? So I think it's really cool though. I think it's a lot of fun to pick a name and then assign kanji or hanzu to them to give them like a different meaning, like the meaning of the characters come together as opposed to eliciting simply the sound, although it is determining it. So alternatively, you can introduce yourself, right? And then when you're introducing yourself, that sound could elicit a different name. Like for example, in English it's not quite as frequent, but like maybe someone's name is Rocket or something, right? And then you're thinking Rocket, oh hey, that's a pretty cool name, or like pretty interesting name. I know that's like a pet name, but the idea is oftentimes pet names elicit the similar thing that I feel when I think about Japanese names being represented in kanji. So when you give yourself a nickname, oftentimes the nicknames elicit the sound and the word that it means. Oftentimes you won't know how to read or write someone's name in kanji unless they tell you. Exactly. Pretty much. And to me, it's hard to native speakers. No, yeah, but to me, that's the fun part. Like, what I'm trying to illustrate here is it's actually fun to have other people. And then when they write in kanji, it's also fun to see what their intent was behind the name. So for example, when someone says MAKU, like what does MAKU mean? Like what do you think it means? I already got Mack truck, McDonald's, mac and cheese. Someone said it reminds them of sushi. And then, you know, whenever someone says like, oh, where did it actually come from? It came from makunochi. And makunochi is like the closest object that involves makunochi is the bento. But I actually haven't ever seen how people wrote ippo makunochi in kanji. So it's all of the above, basically. All of the above. The fun part is that very reason. It would be kind of fun to, English is a little bit more descriptive, but it would be fun to have a name, like someone comes by and you have a name that has a double meaning. It's like, huh, you're saying your name is Guile. Are you going with like Guile, no attachments? Oh, Guile? I'm just kidding. Guile is an inside joke about Guile from Street Fighter. There's, I can't tell you how many times when I was a child, when, you know, Street Fighter came out, and English speakers, they'd be like, who the heck is Guile? Like, what kind of American name is Guile? I'm like, it's Guile. As in, like, the word guile. But then it stuck. Like the internet, like the new generation of people who like now play Street Fighter and whatnot, all the older people would occasionally throw in a guile just for fun. Or like Bison, for example, like M Bison. Bison would be like, did they really went with like the whole tough animal thing when they said bison? Or is it like bison? Like 2 sons? That kind of thing is really cool. And I think Japanese and Chinese names are pretty awesome too in that way. I thought about, oh, this is a ritual, by the way. I don't know, James, if you look at like communities of language learners and whatnot, but it is a ritual when you, at least in the United States, it's also a ritual where you decide on a name when you enter like a class, right? Or when you decide on a alias when you're engaging into another language. And that's obviously I chose MAKU as well before even considering retroactively or with forethought what it can mean. And the wonderful thing about having people think about what your name could mean, I collected all of them. Like oftentimes when someone asks me what my name means, I'm first curious, what do they think the name means and what it sounds like. And I got so many different ones. Like I will give nicknames that wouldn't even give my first name away. Like I was referred to Gus back in the day. Yeah, someone referred to me as Gus, which that doesn't give you any hints. I can tell you it's not Gustav. My name is not Gustav. Yeah, MAKU for curtain. Yeah, recently I just learned that the vocabulary MAKU for curtain. I'm like, oh, well that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Good. Like I could use that. Yeah. Mac is what I get a lot of times. Mac is M-A-C, Mac. I don't know what this would stand for. And you might be thinking, that doesn't relate to Japanese. Actually, if it was this, right? If it was this, it would be very close to mak, right? It would be mak. But then the gives it away that it's Americana. But it's not too far, like, because you don't know if it's MAKU or MAK, right? MAKU, MAK. Pretty cool. Oh, right, that was our last one. Hooray! The celebration. We got 60 points for how many? 20 items? Oh, okay, so you get 2 points per vocabulary. You get 1 point per grammar lesson so far. And then now I'm guessing review is like 2 points each. MAKU Donarudo. Donarudo. Man, you use James as a handle. Whenever I think about James, I think of like John Smith. Whenever in anime or manga, they need a placeholder like of someone's name, but they want the character to make a reference to Western, like Americana and British things. It's just a John Smith. James Smith. Or wait, how do they say James Bond? Do they just go James Bondo? Bondo? Hang on, let's put it in James Bond. James Bondo. Yep, James Bondo. How did the bonding go? James Bond, right? It's like James Bondo. Bondo. Oh, there's also 007. I wonder if they say the 007 in Japanese. Like zero, 007. 007. Really, really fun things to think about. How can you not have fun? Alright, let's do our grammar reviews here. Article confirming.
Samui ne.
Okay, particle confirming. Okay, particle confirming. Alright, away from parties. Okay. Wait, but we're doing like... Wait, away from parties, but the thing, right?
あれは電車です。
Right, because we're talking about the train. これもあなたの本ですね。あ、本ですか？
これもあなたの本ですか？
Interrogative. Gotta keep that in mind. And then now we're standard means just this, right?
寝る。
Okay. And then 寝ります。Near, okay. And then we're talking about an object.
それも本です。
それも本です。私は、polite. Okay. Wait, polite? Okay.
座る。座ります。
Okay. Free. subjective? Free subjective. Ichinichi. Yeah, and then it has like free as in free time. Oh wait, did I? Oh, right. Non-adjective. We need to include
暇な一日
Oh, they were telling me what it is. Oh, they were. Oh, that's. I thought it had to be different from this. Okay. That makes sense. They're trying to do the na thing. The na thing. They were choosing a na adjective or a na related thing. I see. The subjective is not the same subjective that I was thinking of. Okay. Okay. Oh, I see. So then it's like with the curly. So like this. Oh wait.
これは楽しいです。
Okay. It's interesting that they omitted like oh, because the ending can change actually. Yeah, the ending actually can change from the E perspective. Okay. Standard?
学生だ
And okay.
これも寿司です。
Como
服も古い
古い Why is that so? Oh wait. Oh, is it like saying it's referring to that?
それがいいです。
Okay. All right. Terebi o ne? Don't watch. Okay. Semi-polite. Okay. Semi-polite but negative?
テレビを見ないテレビを見ないです
Right. Miru
テレ
is
ビを見ません
Miru is ichidan. Right. Minai desu. Okay. Subjective?
これもいい本です。
Okay, I'm not entirely sure if I'm understanding what subjective means. Hold on. Okay, so that other one was Imana. And then this is okay. Emphatic particle, right?
野球は楽しいよ。
야큐 wa tanoshii yo. What was the alternative? Oh, desu yo. Right. It didn't specify whether the register, what the register was. So there's alternatives if they don't specify what the register is. Okay.
友達です。
Object marker. Okay.
何を食べますか？
何を食べますか? Kaban topic.
カバンは汚い。
Dirty.
先生の傘です。
Alright. Okay. So it looks like I'm still a little sketchy on the trigger word subjective. That's a little trick, like I'm still a little, and then the notation, the parenthetical notation at the end, I'm kind of misreading it here and there. I want to pay attention to it a little bit more. It's presenting a really interesting like way of looking at how to like do grammatical exercises in like this format. Usually grammatical, I'm more like acclimated to demonstrating it using like several sentences next to each other, which is what they do for the lessons. But when you're trying to like test your thing, oftentimes since they're trying to go away, oh wait, I think that's actually a feature where instead of we're using fill-in right now, but there is also like, or not fill-in, but we're using manual inputs, but there is a fill-in choice too, where there's a chance it's kind of like multiple choice or like a word bank or something. That's the like the standard back in the day. That's the standardized way of demonstrating like grammatical things. Or you do like I went from like one extreme to the other extreme, which is you do like this type of thing, and then you would have A, B, C, D, and it would do the different permutations of it. And then it went to the other extreme, which is to diagram the whole thing. To diagram the whole thing or correct the grammatical mistake. That's what I'm more used to right now. If I'm upon reflection in my own memory of how English worked, usually often it dealt like the heavier ones dealt with like they gave you something very subtly not correct, like maybe it's a usage note or something like that, and you had to diagram it and then demonstrate through diagram that the grammar is incorrect, like literally do like a mathematical proof to understanding the grammar, the grammatical point. But in the very beginning, it's usually doing this, where they show you a bunch of permutations of the sentence, and you select the best one, the best out of the choices. So it's really interesting how they're doing it, where for the manual input, they're giving you like, they're trying to give you enough indicators and jargon so that you can get to it. So I'm still getting used to that. It takes me a while. I'm like, I want to say that the more you know, the more technical you become, the easier these things are, but it really isn't, honestly. Like, I mean, I don't know how other people can relate to me, but when one becomes more and more technical with something, it, in my opinion, gets harder and harder to be like this. Like there's so many more things going on in my head than, and it's good, in my opinion, it's a great exercise to understand, like, I just realized that I have way more thoughts than before, which is how I prefer it. So whenever, if someone is saying like, oh, it's obviously this answer, it can only be this answer, and my first thought is, that is the difference, right? That's what happens in difference. And you often lead to the symptom of overthinking, right? Overanalyzing and that stuff. It does come with knowing more than you're supposed to. I clearly remember this story. I shared this story before, where in graduate school, right, I had a professor that awarded like a quarter of the exam points to a prompt. And that prompt was an open-ended question, right? Most questions are open-ended. And he specifically rewarded the 25 points by including what was mentioned in class. So only in class. And unfortunately, I'm a stupid head, quote unquote, a stupid head. This is my first lesson to beyond the scope. So this is what happens. And I'm not apologetic about this. I often consider a lot of things that may often be beyond the scope. So quote unquote, overcomplicating things, right? One tend to overcomplicate things when there are a lot of unknowns and a lot of things to consider. So I'm perfectly acceptable of this because I lost all 25 points because my response was beyond the scope of what was in class to the open-ended question. So technically I didn't demonstrate understanding and comprehension of what was in class. I brought something in that was beyond the scope of it. And that was one of my earlier lessons in graduate school. I'm like, oh, okay. And there was another classmate of mine who literally wrote the like made a funny example of what was in class. Like he wrote like one sentence and he got all the credit. Like he got all 25 points and he wrote like 2 sentences. Meanwhile, I wrote like 5 paragraphs of some miscellaneous but tangential relations to what was in said in class, 0 points. I think that's kind of where I'm at right now, where it's interesting and very humbling to know that you can think of certain things and it can be very easy, it can be very hard, and it doesn't necessarily reflect sometimes how well you know something or how competent you know something. I'm not sure how often this is a cathartic feeling, like some people can manage this, but generally speaking, when you're like in different stages of your education, right, and your specialization, and then you go back and do something that requires very restrictive thinking, or maybe the semantics change, it is crazy humbling and sobering. And here's my hot take. This is my punchline. That's what it's like to learn another target language. When you learn another language, the first thing you get tested on, in my opinion, is how well you handle simplifying and thinking resourcefully and creatively again. And for myself, language is really capturing the spirit of starting a new experiment. Every time I start a new a new thing, it's like a new experiment all over again. I get to read, I get to pay attention to, oh, so this is how Bunpro does things. Oh, that's what they mean by subjective. My subjective today, I missed the mark both times. I still am quite slightly unsure what they mean when they wrote subjective in that blank. like I was thinking the subjective, as in like the convention of subjective, not possibly subjective as in like a feeling of subjectivity, or like it's not quite clear what it is at the moment, and it can fulfill both of them. So it's pretty neat. That's what I was thinking just now. So I got 100 points for 20. Oh, so you get 5 for each review. All right, let's do vocabulary. Let's see how many points we get for vocabulary. Okay. Oh, no read. Sensei. Sensei. Kuroban? Oh, no. Shiro no kuro. Kokuban no ji noto ni ne memo shinasai. Memo is like memo, right? Memo shinasai. Could be like note. Hang on. This is just note memo. Oh, and memo and memorandum. Okay. Ashita no yoru ne? No. Night? Ban?
デートに誘う。明日の晩に一緒にご飯を食べませんか？
お金をください。
There's a special nuance to okane, hence there's no alternative without the honorific in this particular phrase, which is interesting.
独り言。明日までにこの課題をやらなくちゃ。
Yoranakucha. Interesting.
妻。今日はとても忙しかったの。夫。お疲れ様。
Otsukaresama. It's like, okay, good work.
同僚を誘う。金曜日なので一緒にバーへ行きましょう。
I feel like in English I say that pretty much like 90% of the time. Someone would tell me like how much their day sucked, but they're getting through it, and then and then I would ask a couple of questions like, oh, so how do you feel? Like, is it great? Like, it must be nice to finally get some experience under your belt and whatnot. But really all that translates to is Otsukare-sama. And I'm not laughing in a way that I'm not saying that their concerns and stuff are trivial. It's more like sometimes when you say Otsukare-sama, you're saying thank you for telling me, in my opinion, thank you for telling me that your day was very hard, but you managed to do it. Good job. Like, you know, it's great. Like, you've worked really hard. You worked yourself to the bone. All you really needed was to talk to someone, right? Talk to someone and have someone acknowledge good work. So I often, whenever I hear Otsukare-sama, that's kind of an embodiment of it. I mean, obviously I don't live in Japan, but generally speaking, that's kind of as much as you get from in a Chinese household. It's like, oh, okay, Otsukare-sama. There's no like, it's deeper than simply a phrase. Oftentimes, like good work translates so interestingly In sometimes when someone spills their beans and whatnot, spills the tea, and at least in maybe Western society or in the United States, it can be a hit or miss. Because if they expound upon something and you just say good work, it's not descriptive enough contextually to demonstrate that you care about what they said. You simply was short with them, as in good work is not sufficient. However, I don't necessarily think that translates to the social norm in Japanese or even in Chinese. Otsukare-sama has quite a lot of nuances in the sense that it's not either better or worse situation, but more like there's such a cultural baggage, like there's such a cultural usage for it, which I feel like I can resonate with, despite speaking English most of the time.
僕のお気に入りの公園はその遊具がたくさんあるところです。
その遊具 Oh, toy.
お父さんが子供に海で泳ぐのは危険だよ。
危険だよ。I don't know how to say shark yet. Kidding.
冷蔵庫から冷たい水を取ってください。
Favorite. Like, let's use the slightly less strong version.
好きな人と遊園地や水族館に
Oh
行き
yeah,
たい
that's right.
です。
Skina. That's right. I didn't even take into consideration. Skina, the knot, the hanging knot. I like how subtle it is. Like, oh, let's just try using a less strong version of that. Could we do that, please? Tomodachi ni, I have no idea what that is. Tomodachi ni usoをつくことは決してあり。There are... Okay, I need a little help here. Oh. Oh. Interesting.
「俳優の独り言」「もっと有名になりたい」
もっと有名になりたい。Don't we all? I'm kidding. Fame is...
わからないことを質問することはとても良いことです。
良いこと you say. 良いことですね。ここから近いコンビニはどこですか？
ここから近いコンビニはどこですか？
Oh, it went back down. So, ここから近いコンビニはどこですか？ Okay.
あなたは何のケーキが好きですか？
Gotta check my read on this.
父が息子に、どのデザインのカレンダーが欲しいの？
Interesting. Interesting question. Oops.
そのアパートは結構広いですが、家賃は低いです。
Yachin. Oh, hey, Yachin. Yachin wa hikui desu. Special read? Yachin. Rent. Or house rent, specifically.
君は今までにハンバーガーを何個食べたことがある？
何べこ食べたことがある。Oh, there's Kimi. Special note in the future for Kimi. 彼女は日本
彼女は日本人じゃ
日本人じゃない
ない韓国人だ。
韓国人だ。Wow, you didn't pause at all there. このホテルは新しいのでとても綺麗だ。
このホテルは新しいのでとても綺麗だ。
新しいので It's kind of higher. I'm a little off with adding the node and like the demo situation here. Am I osaraing this or just sara?
そのお皿が欲しい。
How doing well? I don't. How doing well? Sensei. 皆さん。Oh.
先生、皆さん元気ですか？生徒たち。はい、元気です。
Yeah, okay.
開発者。このペンはとても書き心地が良いだろう。
書き心地。書き心地。Interesting. Huh. There, for the vocabulary, they pick like occasionally they pick examples that are slightly beyond what I like know word for word.
私は車が欲しいです。
Pretty cool. Teasers. This reminds me of my interaction with Hanzahiro, where whenever you read the example sentences, sometimes it alludes to new things, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, you kind of still understand the gist of the sentence, but it's kind of neat. It's unintentionally graded, but like, obviously they're not grading this intentionally based on what I know or what I don't know in vocabulary, since we didn't sync this. Unless they are really doing that. That'd be kind of impressive, considering its various levels. They do have the example sentences graded from N5 to like at the top N2. So they can technically dynamically do this if they wanted to. However restrictive it is. The number of, there's like at least 2 examples of each. Obviously not meant to be comprehensive, right? Oh wait, same. Whoops. Onaji. Haru wa aki to onaji you ni heck sugosha. Oh man. 過ごしやすい。 Yeah, sai. Sorry, not sui. Oh yeah, sui. Yeah, sui. Interesting. To get by. Oh yeah, that. I mean, yeah. I was just like passing, but interesting. Okay.
僕は警官の仕事中に危険なことをたくさんしました。
I didn't think. Oh yeah, yeah. This is also interesting. I'm curious what their entry for taksan is in the future. It always looks weird, but because of its position, it's got to be taksan. Instead of like a feature, like a mountain feature or like a geographic feature. Every time I look at taksan in kanji, I think of a location, but because of where it is in the relative perspective of like a sentence or a statement, like, yeah, that's kind of weird. So then I immediately snap to taksan. Despite the left can be read as haku, and then the right can be read as san for a jukugo, right?
俺はライオンよりチーターの方が可愛いと思う。
Cheetah. Oh, okay, it is a cheetah. I can never be sure about these things.
タグ。この服を水洗いしてはいけない。
この電車の名前は何ですか？
な、落語。落語が、落語。normal。not sure。落語。Oh, interesting. Not prepared. Not prepared. 卓語がない人は、so not prepared. The rest is fine. Like very much. There we go.
あなたが大好きな食べ物は何ですか？
Okay.
毎日朝の6時に起きます。
That's interesting. 毎日朝 instead of 毎朝。
天気予報士。暑い日は熱中症に気をつけてください。
Yeah. Yeah.
新鮮な寿司を食べに北海道へ行く。
Imagine having fresh sushi in Hokkaido. That sounds delightful considering how like cold the climate is.
友達に忠告をする。彼と関わらない方がいいよ。
Wait. 関わらないこと。Oh no, 方がいいよ。
その帽子かわいいね。
鑑定士。それはあなたの先祖のものですか？
Senzo, descendant? Or ancestor? I mean, not descendant. The other way. The other direction. Oops.
俺の家にはスポーツを仕事にしている人がたくさんいる。
Talk song again.
家族と一緒に新しい年を迎える。
Welcome to New Year. That's an interesting way to say New Year. Like using it. Oops. I didn't finish typing. Ah!
同僚。彼女は君の上司でしょ？
上司。
客が店員に本当にこのエアコンの性能がいいのですか？
性能。はい。いいのですか？あ、いいのですか？ Able to live without? Oh no, it's performance. Good performance. Say no. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
この遊園地は月曜日より水曜日の方が空いています。
職員室へ先生に質問をしに行く。
職員室。Oh. Fair enough. 職員室、先生に質問をしに行く。
職員室へ先生に質問をしに行く。
この洋服ね。洋服はこの洋服は古くてもうOh no, that's 生地。もう生地がいやダメになっている。It's just won't. The material is already. It just won't do. Yeah, it's already at its end. Okay.
店員、これは性能がいい掃除機です。
Wait, I don't know which one this is. Oh, yeah.
クッキーを作ることは大変じゃなかった。
難しい。I don't know. We'll see. Future.
母が子供に、ここのトイレは汚いから他へ行きましょう。
Sorry. Talk about dirty toilets.
このカメラはいくらしますか？
That was a little bit immature of me. My bad.
私の名前はスミスです。
Oh, there's スミス。Speaking of スミス。
父が義理の父を誘う。一緒にパンを買いに行きませんか？
お母さんと映画を見るのは今日の午後にします。
夫が妻に、君が必要だ。離婚しないでください。
離婚しないでください。Dang. I got a little heavy just now.
家の玄関の掃除を毎週しているのは夫だ。
新入社員、木下さんって誰ですか？
木下さん。What? なんて。木下。That like, is that supposed to be... Oh. Interesting. That's an interesting name.
先生が生徒に、うちにたどり着くまでが遠足ですよ。
どこですよ。どこか。Oh no. Standard, polite, gender neutral. Wait.
生徒が先生に、どこが私の席ですか？
What was standard? Okay, standard is not exactly... Standard has more than one thing going on.
今日はお風呂の掃除をしなくてはいけない。
僕のメンタルは大丈夫じゃない。ボロボロだ。
ボロボロだ。メンタル。Mental, like mental health? Oh, dang. All I got was my mental was not okay. Okay, mental health. Oops. Oh no. How do you... Oh no. Oh.
教室で、あなたの椅子はどれ？
What?
これはあなたの母の時計ですか？
I added too many things there.
僕はレストランでバイトをしたことがあります。
There's バイトして、バイトしたことが。バイト、part-time job.
あなたは恵子さんの兄ですか？
Now they wrote Keiko using katakana. Standard, polite, predominantly among peers.
写真を見ながら、妻。あなたはどれ？全くわからない。
わからない。
この手紙は宝物だ。
Oh yeah, 宝物。Aw, that's cute. Sorry.
田舎より都市の方が便利です。
This is a farm shack. Inaka, what did they translate? Countryside, okay. Interesting.
あれは猫の赤ちゃんじゃない、チーターの赤ちゃんだ。
Okay. Ah, 今日泊まる。今日は泊まるホテルはここです。Oh, is this stay? Okay.
ママ友、あなたの娘さんは学生だよね。
まだ火曜日だけど、もう疲れています。
もう疲れて。
あなたは犬種の中で何が一番好きですか？
Oh. Oh no. Which cold are we talking about? Oh wait. Kun wa Oh, different cold. Oh, hold on. Different cold. 風邪。
咳をしている友達に、君は風邪でしょう。
君は風邪でしょう。The cough gives it away, the seki. And then, I guess, technically, you can get it from this too. Initial. It wouldn't make... Can you fit that in? No. Because kimi wa, like, well... Could be like... Oh, that's questionable. Gloomy? What the gloomy? Ichi, どうして、え？青。青してるの？今、いじめられたから。Gloomy. Like...
父、どうして暗い顔をしているの？
Okay.
息子、いじめられたから。
弟は牛乳が大好きだ。
Ah! Oh, Heck. Send help. Oh no. It was like... Oh no. I know. No, está estudiante. Aquí. There's something. Our student. Oh no. Hold on. I really should group these in my head now. Help. No, wait. Seito. What? Oh no.
あなたは生徒ですか？それとも先生ですか？
No está estudiante. You know? Right. The following of life. Rainy of life. Seito.
この傘は誰のですか？
質問をする。何か丸いものを持っていますか？
おばあちゃんが本をたくさん読んだ方がいいと言った。
天気予報士が明日は雨が降ると言っていた。
God, this one takes me a bit. Okay.
彼氏が彼女に、君はファンタジーやコメディの映画が好きだろう。
あなたはミカのお父さんですか？
By coincidence, I know a Mika. What is that? We got 60, so we got what, 80? Oh, it's 3 points each. Nice. All right. Climbing the charts. I guess we can stick to daily. Daily view count. Just... all right. You know, I still like what I did yesterday. We can make some room, right? 2 hours, that'll bring me up to midnight. We can do this thing. I kind of dig this, so we're gonna do this again. I have some weak spots for sure. Let's do this again. Ah! Don't worry, it's like losing frames because how they did this was they stacked all the things on top of each other. So when the like stack starts to lower up, it becomes faster. Oh no. Oh no. Wait. I can't compute. I can't compute. I really can't compute this. Ew. Oh. Oh no. Oh no, I can't.
みゃと
Oops. Just kidding.
それげしゅ
Oh no.
じょめちょきゅ
Oops.
た
Ah! Ah! Hold up.
ぬ
I don't want to talk about it.
ねへき
Oops.
しゃぎゅじゅどじょなにずめてごしょぞら しゅるへむじゅひもまびゅきたけこより
Wait. Oh.
びゅねくやすぽじょつしむえ
Oops.
びょぽぴょげせちゅりょきゅかひょぎょちゃりゅくりお
Oops.
ざきょびゅふひきゃぎひゅせちなひゃにぺみょぶいぴびぐやぱぎゃ
Yeah, makes me laugh. Every time.
の
Oops.
みのきょみゅわりゃみゃくだちぬそべ
Oh, we're getting our frames back. Oops.
じどぶ
Alright, the frames are catching up.
う
Oops. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. How does this work again? Oh no. Ay. Ay ay ay.
ず
Okay.
ぎはゆまびょろうてり
Oops.
しょ
I don't want to talk about it.
る
Oh,
き
I
ゃ
misread that.
ひょ
Oh no.
じゅ
Man.
ぜりゅじゃにゅよでみばぎょあつ
Oops.
ざとぜおでしくもさば
Heck. Heck.
じゃみょきゃはしゃほけほ
Oh man.
じゆ
Oh, whoops.
さろあすんりゅやえひょわびゃ
Oops.
ぼ
Oh no, not again. Hold up. Oh no.
じゅみゅ
Whoops.
いにゅが
Oh no.
じょりゃぞ だ
Oh no. Ooh.
じゃにゃちょお
Number 48. All right. Dang. That was fun. I can definitely tell from that which ones are common and which ones are uncommon. Any combination of like jia, right, like jia, jiu, and then there's also jia, jiu. All of those are like, oh, yee. But you don't have a lot of jia, jiu, jie, ju, and then there's like di, like, and then there's ji, jia, jiu, ju. All of those are like, I don't know, brain fart. Which makes sense because they are very uncommon. They're incredibly uncommon. Alright. There's just so many things. Like later on we could do like reading practices and stuff. Probably in the second half of the year when Wanikani kind of goes into maintenance mode, kind of like Duolingo is in maintenance mode. Was it a bad idea to also review Wanikani vocab within Bunpro? Yeah, see, this is the type of question that I was ready to answer most of the time, which is pretty much what is inferred. It's like, all right, well, so where are you gonna start? It's like, both. I'll just do both. I pick up things here and there. So yeah, very classic question. This is the classical compartmentalization question. Like oftentimes, whenever someone thinks of efficiency, they think about compartmentalization, right? Oh, is Wanikani vocab redundant with Bunpro? That would be a good question. Let me think. Well, I'll come up with a 100-day answer to that. I think tentatively right now, even after 5 days, the vocabulary is not redundant with Wanikani. The way vocabulary is presented and the information is presented is not redundant with Wanikani. So in a way, when you're saying what is most of your effort and your attention in Wanikani vocabulary, it's not the same as Bunpro. Like Bunpro is closer to what everyone else, in my opinion, what most people would like, quote unquote, accustomed to what they like. They look like dictionary entry points on the top of a lot of other things, like example sentences. The functionality of Bunpro does not overlap with Wanikani. Wanikani has a very specific design choice for mnemonics, and the input that you're getting is attached and associated with mnemonics building. And then you can wield that mnemonics building if you want while looking at Bunpro's native collection of information regarding the vocabulary. If someone sees it as a means to an end, as in do you know the vocabulary word or not, then it is strictly redundant, right? So this is the question that people ask. If you compartmentalize how you understand the word into, if you know a primary meaning that's attached to a word, then yes, it is redundant. That requires very strict adherence to compartmentalization. If you're not, then Wanikani actually does not cover and provide a lot of specific things that Bunpro does, despite the vocabulary being the same, like quote unquote the same. So it's kind of like if you really love basketball and you only choose to play basketball one way, then that's perfectly fine. Because if you learn again to play basketball a different way, it would be redundant because you already know how to play basketball. But the way the vocabulary is presented, it requires a different set of skills, which I am still working on. I'm still deciding on how I'm going to add my notes and do things. But what's going to happen is at every vocabulary, I'm going to have an opportunity to initiate and elicit what I know from Wanikani, which then elicits what I know from Hanzahiro and Duolingo. And then that's where I'm going to add the notes. To me, I think, and this is kudos to the developers of Bunpro, I believe their platform is excellent at organizing information that Wanikani cannot. Because as much as you can add notes and do all those things and then maybe do some API and stuff, the tracking way, the way you track things and organize things on Bunpro is exceptional. And it's exceptional in a point that I don't have to do it all from scratch. So like I could power up Anki and do all that too for fun, as a way to understand how Anki works, right? However, if you have Bunpro, organizing most of your information from Wanikani and lifting them into Bunpro would demonstrate all the stuff that Wanikani does not overlap with Bunpro, which is like you spend 60 or more than half of your attention span technically to something that Bunpro doesn't exist in Bunpro. Like there's no near rhyming and eliciting emotions and stuff, right? So you can put them together. If you're having, in my opinion, if you're having trouble remembering your vocabulary after Wanikani is burnt out, right? When you burn the things, you can continue to bootstrap through Wanikani's mnemonic system or whatever mnemonic system you're building. However, Bunpro's approach to categorizing things and then using like the sentences and graded sentences approach, and also generating your own self-study sentences while using practices, different forms of practices like reading practice only, like even doing JLPT. There are different formats that can synchronize with the information that Wanikani has. So to me, obviously I'm answering tangentially. No one is asking me for these things. I'm voluntarily practicing. I like reading community comments over time. I'll do this later in Neverwinter, by the way, largely to see what type of questions come up and how I would answer them. I practice these things, but I don't use them. Like what I mean is I don't use them publicly in a sense like directly to the person. It's only when someone solicits my information, like solicits my take or opinions, that I've already practiced these things. And in my opinion, when you practice these things, you become useful and more accustomed to answering questions and taking opportunities when it appears. Not long ago, someone asked me, what's the point of preparing answers and preparing contingency plans or looking at questions, practicing answering those questions when you may never use them, or the opportunity may never come? And the idea is the practice and act of answering questions and being cognizant and compassionate about the community can be practiced anywhere, anytime, because opportunity is when your opportunity is a privilege. Like, you can make certain opportunities for sure if you want to go that route, but being prepared means to anticipate or to be ready for the unpredictable. That's another like branch of skills. You have problem solving skills as a consequence of a problem, and then you have problem solving skills as an initiative to be prepared for unknown problems. And when it comes to the thing that's facing a lot of people, like this person asking a question, was it a bad idea to also review Wanikani vocab with Bunpro? Is the idea that this person doesn't have foresight into understanding, well, what is the difference? What are the similarities? Are the differences or the different degrees and presentations sufficient to make an argument that it can take up your time to understand those things? If they're not significantly sufficient learning content, the answer is no. But when you ask other people questions like this, then you see the reason why I'm saying this is a yes or no question. So if I was inferring by this person, this is what compartmentalization, in my opinion, tend to coincide with how people ask questions. Was it a bad idea to also review Wanikani vocab within Bunpro? The answer is going to be yes or no. That's what happens, in my opinion, when people start thinking like what is very normal now on the internet. It's either yes, it's a bad idea, or no, it's not a bad idea, the situation, as opposed to in what way do you think I could either benefit, or the pros and cons about doing Wanikani vocabulary again with Bunpro. And when you ask that question, I'm not talking about this person specifically, but if I ask myself that question, that's what I'm answering right now. I take a look at these answers, and I take a look at what the information's offered, and I can tell you now at a glance, the way vocabulary is presented by Bunpro, it's complementary to the vocabulary the way Wanikani presents it. I would even argue that Duolingo does not overlap with either the two either, because Duolingo relies strictly on implicit repetition. Basically, oh, this vocabulary starts up, and it's like there's the translation, and then you lump it together and you keep repeating it until it becomes associated. So Duolingo has a complete implicit one, which makes people who are dependent on explicit instruction, like Bunpro is explicit. Basically, here are all the meanings, here are all the things, we have as much information. And then Wanikani is associative, as in it associates. It does include like the primary meanings and secondary meanings, but it's secondary to associating things. So you're associating it with imagery, emotions, and the letter construction. When you're looking at vocabulary in Bunpro, the actual term itself is viewed in isolation. So you will not learn the relationship between the characters and the radicals and whatnot. That is not the focus of the way Bunpro presents it. Vocabulary is presented as a standalone entity that is not related to the characters themselves. So the answer really is no. Like, in my opinion, if I were like fundamentally, logically speaking, the learning process is exclusive like very much exclusive in the sense of how the process works, but the end result is still getting you to the meaning of the vocabulary, right? So if you only want to rely on one way to remember the meaning of a vocabulary word, it's redundant. If you want different ways to remember the same vocabulary word and then, you know, reinforce it through a different way while also having multiple ways being reinforced at once, you're kind of talking into my mindset. Like, Japanese isn't going to go anywhere, right? That those like same, you know, when people talk about like the 2000 kanji or like, let's just say roughly 10,000 vocabulary words to help you like do things, I want to ensure that I have multiple 2 to 3 times way of engaging in this thing instead of repeating the same thing again. So like when you forget something, are you going to go back to Wanikani and do it all over again? Or do you go to Bunpro and do it while it's still fresh in your head, but you're engaging in something different, right? That's like suggesting reading a manga and then watching anime and then watching a vlog. The information is still somewhat dependent outside your control, but you can effectively see the same information in 3 different mediums. But to me, you have to answer these questions every single time online. It's the same for video games, by the way. Video games, it's like I played Dark Souls 2, I played Dark Souls 3. Is Elden Ring, is it a bad idea to play Elden Ring since Elden Ring is so much similar to Dark Souls 3? Right? Internet logic, in my opinion, and it's become the social norm. Not that it will hurt you. Like, I don't think people will ultimately set themselves up for dissatisfaction or whatnot. Like, they will counter it with different types of managements. But for me, the really inferred answer to this is that no, it's not a bad idea, because you won't get bored reviewing your vocabulary words that you should know still from Wanikani. But if you have trouble with Wanikani, seeing them again in a different context in Bunpro will help encourage and intuitively get you to fill in those gaps. The ones that you do know, sure, you can still skip them if you want, or you want to reinforce them in some different way. The idea is that I think what this person is asking is it a waste of time if they think they already learn one way is sufficient for a lifetime? And for myself, the really simple, it's not a bad idea, so it's a good idea to engage in the same information in different ways, because that is, in my opinion, I'm a little bit biased here, lead to conducive, immersive learning. It leads to deep thinking process, right? Seeing and exploring all the ways you can enjoy the thing that you're trying to do is transformative. Like, I can't even imagine what it's like to think of drawing, like doing artwork, as one thing, as one way of doing things. And then you want to tell yourself that you're going to do it for a lifetime and not think it's tedious and boring, right? So this type of question gets asked legitimately every time someone starts, or every time someone's in the honeymoon period of a new task. To me, it's kind of a little bit disappointing, but again, not necessary for people's happiness. It's a little disappointing that this question is asked in this manner, as opposed to collectively looking at the relationship between all the things you do. Like, when you play Dark Souls 1 and you play Dark Souls 2, you can spend double the amount of time. Some people would say it's wasteful, but you could spend double the amount of time appreciating the differences, the comparison and contrast between Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2. That levels up the depth of deep processing and thinking. all of this stuff is connected in a tapestry, as opposed to like, oh, well, I learned it one way. There's really no reason ever to learn it again in a different way, or to reinforce it or practice it in a different way, right? I mean, I can sit here, we'll do this for the 100, the 100-day review or a tentative take of Bunpro, seeing how I fit Bunpro's presentation and information and add it to it. Obviously, there are still redundant things, of course. Of course, there are redundant things. The process is not redundant, so that's my focus. The information, I talked about this on day one of Bunpro. If you're a content-oriented, driven person, that's results-based. You are destination-prone. You are a person who's looking at the destination. When you're looking at different products, like, should I use Bunpro, or should I use Wanikani, or should I go with Anki? The question, in my opinion, that is very pertinent to the individual is, what is the process like for all three? Because the thing you're looking for is either a process that isn't too difficult to make you want to quit, but it's hard enough to challenge you to increase your process level. Engage yourself in the difficulty of the process. If it's too easy, you become complacent. That means you're not learning more about the process, so it's less engaging. It can be tedious, but you can still will your power through a redundant process to get the results you want. Alternatively, it doesn't have to be that way. You can engage in a new process that's hard enough, but not too hard to make you want to quit. Right? That frustration is part of process-oriented enrichment and improvement. So I often choose to think about this. I didn't choose Bunpro. It's not a coincidence I choose Bunpro. And it's not a coincidence I was ready to see this question about Bunpro and Wanikani, because if you think about selective behavior, Wanikani's word of mouth relates to Bunpro's presence and vice versa. So naturally you would anticipate comparison and contrast in this. Anyways, and then, anyone currently gaming in Japanese for practice, I do that too, right? That kind of thing is interesting, very interesting. I'm not sure if these people are representative of the whole, but holistic connections seem to be disappointing to me. Maybe not sufficient or necessary for happiness for people to learn. For myself, it's kind of like the difference between flicking your wrists in doom scrolling versus literally sit there and watch each short to the end and have all the shorts related to the same topic, right? So here's a social experiment that had some experiments recently about the brain rot situation. If you watched a shorts reel of like 20 different people's perspective on the same topic, and you watch through all of them, right? Just obligatorily watch through 20 different people's shorts on the same topic, so you can realize that they're kind of saying the same thing but not really saying the same thing, versus someone who has the ability to skip, right, doom scrolling and make it about random topics. The idea is I'm willing to kind of wager like a 80% odds that the person who's like scrolling through random topics and making sure that they don't overlap, it's probably more engaging and interesting, like haphazardly, but I would say that person has a lower level, or likely to perform a lower level of thinking and deep processing over time than someone who is engaging in multiple perspectives regarding the same information, even in a short form format. Like, we're not even talking about the attention span thing or like the perception of attention span. But this time, that hypothetical social experiment is illustrating how well you can integrate information together, right? If you constantly think that there's no point to engaging in process-oriented thinking involving the same content or the same material, then in my opinion, the person that I'm speaking to, this hypothetical person, will become effectively an incredibly under-practiced problem solver. You do not solve problems well when everything you think about is non-overlapping, right? A problem becomes a problem because the only solution you have doesn't work. So whenever someone says, was it a bad idea to review Wanikani vocab? Well, you could cater to their results-oriented brain and say, are there any problem vocabulary that you have? Like, do you have a 50-50 chance that a burned item in Wanikani is not memorable? Because if it isn't, Bunpro could be a alternative way to elicit more information about the vocabulary word. So then you can integrate them. What you know about what you're practicing about Wanikani will reinforce what you know about Bunpro because you can make a connection between them. And then what was weak in Wanikani can be reinforced by Bunpro. They have even objectively, they have different information. And when I mean different information, I mean the nuance of how the information is being presented, right? Not the literal information. Like, sure, you know Ani as older brother. That's fair. But how do you remember Ani in Wanikani is not how you remember Ani from Bunpro. And if you can find the connection between them, it means that there are two ways you can possibly remember older brother, not one way. Because when that one way fails, excuse me, when that one way fails, it's going to be a heck of a hard time for you to, at the moment, develop a whole new process of thinking. So that's probably something that I rigorously have to explain, not necessarily defend, because I don't think people really care if I'm right or wrong, and I don't really care either. The idea is you solve problems by looking at things from multiple angles. If your problem is to learn vocabulary words or sentences or become fluent in Japanese, right? The problem, the goal. Engaging in as many non-overlapping ways of eliciting that same memory is probably going to affect you in a lifetime situation. Putting all your eggs in one basket to remember one detail, that's for really, really impressive people. I have met some of these people in my life where they are seemingly okay with always knowing that the best way they do things is always going to go unchanged and be sufficient for the rest of their life. These are also the most stubborn, most arrogant, the least flexible people I have met in my life. They're still happy, by the way. They are still able to achieve success because they have willpower and motivation, tedium. They also contrast with me in terms of like exploration and variety. Like, they're not artsy fartsy. They don't like seeing the charm in like bad drawings. They don't think anime can ever be serious because it's cartoons. Like, that's what the type of thinking that we're talking about, right? The thought process affects your appreciation for the same medium, even for the same information. What I use, like someone who is able to think differently is like someone who originally thought anime is for kids, and then they watched it, and then they stayed open-minded, and then they explored what used to be American cartoons to them, but now anime becomes anime. So it's still technically the same information, right? The presentation and the medium and whatnot, you can still reductively convert it into a cartoon for kids. So that's kind of where we're living the life right now. It's pretty disheartening sometimes to hear the extreme compartmentalization where someone would say they can't possibly enjoy something because it's not the same, and also they can't possibly enjoy something because it's too different. Wild. Absolutely wild. I'm a little biased. The answer is both. You can do both. Appreciation for the process involves actually participating in multiple processes. The information does not change very much. Like, how many ways can you paint the sky blue, for example, is interesting. The sky being blue over and over again, 10 different ways, sky being blue, the exact blue you're thinking of, is disinteresting. Like, it's boring, it gets redundant, it gets grindy, and it gets tedious. And striking the balance between that is interesting. Now, to be fair to this person could be asking in the context of, they already read the same vocabulary in graded readers, and they already see the same vocabulary in anime, and they already see in many other places. So saving some time is fine. Like, what I mean is, if I'm being fair to this person, it could be a waste of time, because they already have a lot of enrichment. My presumptuous nature is the way this person asked this question is probably not a person who have engaged in multiple processes in understanding the same vocabulary. So they're probably compartmentalizing. Otherwise, it would be a very different question, in my opinion. The way it's asked gives away how people think about it. It's shocking, in my opinion, or not really. Okay, shocking's a little crossing the line. It's kind of sobering how much the people that I talk to give away in the way they ask me questions, or the way I ask questions and how they answer it. That they themselves are not aware of how much they give away. Like, sometimes questions aren't even interesting to them anymore. Like, the way people ask questions. Like, I get comments like, well, how do you know I was going to answer this? It's like you already have prepared the next answer to my question. I'm like, well, are you paying attention to the nature of the question, right? Like, how people answer questions and ask questions is a really wonderful way of how intellectuals, at least in my opinion, thinkers, read each other, right? If you're constantly asking yes or no questions, it's fairly obvious how you're going to approach answering my questions and how you would view certain things. So when someone constantly asks true and false questions, black and white questions, 0 and 1s, my goal is probably to find out what the right answer is and their right opinions are, because in order to interact with them, they are one that focuses on that. And for example, yeah, stuff like this in the front screen, giving cred where credit is due to Bunpro. I like this. I like this like thing being available here, so I can always just scroll down, look at the most recent busy topics, right? Wanikani is a click away. You click on like forum at the bottom. So is Hanzahiro. As to not distract the person, maybe that is the choice they have. All right, folks, that's a little bit of a rant and end to our Bunpro session. If you're gonna watch this later, arigatou gozaimasu, right? Feel free to follow along, pick up Bunpro for yourself. There's a 1.5 month trial period. I'm guessing at the start of the account creation. It's a wonderful starting tool, like starting platform to organize your thoughts and whatnot. Definitely a wonderful platform. So, and you're always welcome to come on by Yap, offer counterpoints. I welcome counterpoints. Other alternative like routes of process-oriented thinking to make Japanese and or any other language part of your life skills, right? Until next time, 皆さんまたね。見てくれてありがとう. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna get up, stretch, walk around, take a quick bathroom break, and I'll be back for Hanzahiro. Thank you, thank you.